A pair of wireless earbuds sells for $49.99 on Amazon. The parts inside, the drivers, the battery, the charging case, the plastic shell, cost the seller $4.20 to manufacture in Shenzhen. That's an 88% margin on paper. Multiply that by 10,000 units a month, and you're looking at a business that prints money, the kind of spreadsheet that convinces a 27-year-old to quit his marketing job and wire $40,000 to a factory he found on Alibaba. Here's what that spreadsheet doesn't show you. 68% of independent audio brands that launch on Amazon are gone within 3 years. Not struggling. Gone. Account closed, inventory liquidated at a loss, LLC dissolved. The ones who survive rarely talk about the 18 months where they weren't sure they would. So if the margin is really 88%, where does all the money actually go? It starts with a decision most first-time sellers make in about 10 minutes, on a factory sourcing call, half convinced by a sample that arrived looking better than anything they could produce themselves. It's the minimum order quantity, and almost nobody realizes how much that one number will define the next 2 years of their life. A factory will quote 3 tiers. Order 500 units, and the per unit cost jumps to $7.80 because you're not hitting the volume that unlocks better component pricing or amortizes tooling costs. You'll price your earbuds competitively, but you're capped. There's no room to run promotions, no room to absorb a bad month, and you'll sell out in 6 weeks with no cash to reorder. Order 25,000 units, and the per unit cost drops to $3.10. Brutal efficiency. Except now $77,500 is sitting in a warehouse in New Jersey as inventory instead of cash. And if the product doesn't sell the way you modeled, you're not looking at a bad quarter. You're looking at insolvency. The middle tier, 5,000 units at $4.20 a unit, is the one nobody wants on their first order because it doesn't feel efficient enough and doesn't feel safe enough. It requires $21,000 up front and gives you 6 to 8 months of runway if you sell at a realistic pace. Almost nobody chooses the middle tier on their first try, and almost everyone wishes they had. Let's actually take that $49.99 pair of earbuds apart, because this is where the fantasy dies. The bill of materials, drivers, Bluetooth chip battery, charging case, silicone tips, packaging, runs $4.20 landed, meaning after freight and import duty, not before. That's the number every seller quotes. It's also the least important number in the entire model. Amazon takes its referral fee first, 15% of the sale price, or $7.50. Then FBA fulfillment, the fee for Amazon to pick, pack, and ship the item, comes out at $4.75 for a small standard size item in this weight class. Storage fees, prorated monthly, add another 60 cents per unit if you're not moving inventory fast enough, and during Q4 that number can more than double. Now the part nobody puts in a spreadsheet they show you before you invest: advertising. To rank against the 12 other nearly identical earbuds on the same search page, most new listings spend $5.50 to $8 in pay-per-click ad costs for every single unit sold, at least the first year, before organic ranking starts doing some of that work for free. Call it $6.20 average. Then there's a number sellers actively avoid thinking about: returns and defects. Consumer electronics in this category run an 8 to 11% return rate, and Bluetooth pairing complaints alone account for roughly a third of that. Every return costs the seller of the product the outbound shipping, the inbound shipping, and Amazon's refund administration fee. A documented case from one Earbuds brand's own financial disclosure put total return-related losses at $61,400 across a single fiscal year, on a business doing $1.4 million in gross revenue. That's 4.4% of revenue gone before a single dollar profit is calculated. Add it up: $49.99 sale price, minus $4.20 in goods, minus $7.50 in referral fees, minus $4.75 in fulfillment, minus $6.20 in advertising, minus $2.20 in prorated returns and defects, minus $1.90 in overhead, insurance, software subscriptions, accounting, the LLC's existence tax. What's left is $23.24 before you've paid yourself a single dollar. But that's gross contribution, not net. Once you layer in the amortized cost of tooling, certification, and the inventory financing most sellers use to fund reorders, the real number that hits the owner's pocket lands around $6.50 per unit, not the 80% everyone imagined walking in, about 13%. And that 13% assumes you're selling consistently. You're not. Wireless earbuds don't sell evenly across the calendar. Roughly 40% of annual unit volume moves in a 6-week window between Black Friday and Christmas. The other 46 weeks of the year are a grind of modest, ad-subsidized sales just to keep the listing's search ranking alive. This creates a trap that looks like success from the outside. The brand goes viral in November, sells 8,000 units in 3 weeks, and the owner thinks they've cracked it. Here's the problem. During that same window, Amazon ad auction prices spike because every competitor is fighting for the same eyeballs. Cost per click that averaged 85 cents in October can hit $1.60 in December. Storage fees triple under Amazon's peak season surcharge structure. And if the factory can't turn around a rush reorder in time, stockouts during the highest margin week of the year erase weeks of profit in lost sales rank. The revenue chart goes up. The margin per unit during that exact same window often goes down. Busy is not the same thing as profitable. If volume during the rush doesn't save the business, what does? It's not the average customer. It's figuring out which customer is actually funding the operation because they're not the same person. Break the customer base into 3 tiers, and the picture gets uncomfortable fast. The bargain buyer, about 55% of all customers, waits for a lightning deal, buys the base model once, spends $34 average, including the discount, and never returns. The mid-tier buyer, roughly 30% of customers, buys the base model at full price, then adds a $14.99 replacement ear tip multi-pack within 4 months, landing around $68 in annual spend. The loyalist, the remaining 15%, buys the upgraded model, adds the $19.99 extended warranty, buys a second unit as a gift or backup, and spends $146 across a year. That top 15% generates nearly 38% of total profit, not revenue, profit. Because warranties and accessories carry margins north of 60%, compared to the 13% the core earbuds themselves deliver. The entire pricing and listing structure, the recommended accessory bundle, the warranty upsell at checkout, the subtle nudge toward the $10 more premium color, exists to move a bargain buyer 1 tier up, because one loyalist is worth roughly 4 bargain buyers in pure profit terms. None of that profit exists, though, without a place to sell, and for this business, the location isn't a storefront. It's the marketplace itself, and it comes with a lease structure most sellers don't read closely enough before they sign up. Amazon's referral fee is effectively percentage rent, 15% off the top, every sale forever, with no negotiating leverage for a seller doing under 7 figures. But the real trap clause is long-term storage fees. Inventory that sits in an Amazon warehouse for more than 365 days gets hit with a surcharge that can run $6.90 per cubic foot on top of standard storage costs, a penalty specifically engineered to punish sellers who overordered. The breakpoint is brutal. A seller who ordered 10,000 units expecting to sell through in 8 months, but who actually sells through in 14, can watch $3,000 to $5,000 in unsold inventory quietly converting to pure loss, sitting in a warehouse in Kentucky, doing nothing but accruing fees. And unlike a retail lease, there's no negotiator with Amazon and no walking away midterm. A suspended account, triggered by something as small as 3 defect-related complaints in a rolling 30-day window, can freeze 6 figures of inventory and cash simultaneously with an appeals process that has no guaranteed timeline. Most sellers finance their reorders with a business line of credit that requires a personal guarantee. The platform doesn't own your business, but it can end it in an afternoon, and you're still personally on the hook for the loan that stocked the shelves. Before any of this even starts generating revenue, there's a build-out cost that almost never makes it into the pitch a seller gives themselves. Injection mold tooling for a custom earbud case design runs $9,000 to $16,000, and it's non-refundable. The factory owns nothing, You own a mold sitting in their facility that only makes your specific product. FCC certification for the U.S. market costs $4,500 to $7,000. Bluetooth SIG qualification, a separate and mandatory certification most first-timers don't know exists until they're ejected, adds another $8,000 to $12,000. UL or equivalent battery safety testing, non-negotiable for anything with a lithium cell that ships via air freight, runs $3,000 to $5,000. Professional product photography and listing video, the kind that actually converts browsers into buyers, costs $3,500 to $6,000. Add UPC/GS1 barcode registration, initial legal setup, and product liability insurance, and the pre-launch total lands between $32,000 and $54,000 before the business has sold a single unit, and certification isn't fast. FCC and Bluetooth SIG approval alone can take 6 to 10 weeks, and any failed test resets the clock. Sellers routinely burn 2 to 3 months of runway waiting on paperwork, while their warehouse lease and software subscriptions keep charging. Now assume the business survives all that and is finally running. It only takes one bad week to undo a quarter of progress. Picture this, because it happened in some version, to thousands of sellers during 2021 and 2022. A shipping container carrying 8,000 units sits at the port of Long Beach for 11 extra days during a documented congestion spike, costing $2,400 in demurrage fees the seller didn't budget for. The same week, a batch of 400 units already in Amazon's warehouse is flagged for a battery defect, triggering a $6,000 recall and disposal cost. The seller's main ad account gets suspended for 7